All right. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected. Early chatters are in. Greetings, guys. Welcome. Good to see you all here. And thank you for your continued support. I really appreciate it. We are also live on Rockfin, ROKFIN.com. Please come join me on Rockfin. Would love to see your chats and read your chats on Rockfin. Anyways, late start, so let's get into it. I don't want to spend too much time. Hold on one second. Let me get this. All right. I think we got that. Okay. All right. So, yeah. Starting off, this is the week. All right. Crackling. Sorry. Thanks for the heads up, guys. Thank you. Let's get right into it. Who was it? So before I get right into it, I wanted to read. There was a good comment, a couple of good comments in the chats. Realize says one species possesses the power to change its goals and priorities. True story. Interglacial Optimist says it's impossible for us mere mortals to understand the purpose of life. I agree with that statement. I feel like it's grand hubris on the part of human beings to understand what God wants or what the universe wants, or all of it is just so much conjecture. Anyways. You miss the crackles now. I don't. I'd rather, but thank you for the heads up. I'd rather not have them. They usually don't start, and I know exactly why they did start. They usually don't start at the beginning of the show, but Jinpai Gamma says the purpose of life is to love and care for all. Life, nature exemplifies this. Okay. Anyways, let's get into this from Karsten Hostine. And let me make sure you all can see this. From Karsten Hostine. And this is from yesterday. With 99% of this epic roller coaster of a year completed, time to reveal an estimate of 2020's global temperature. As far as the GIST temp is concerned, it's likely a draw with 2016, the warmest year so far. The anomaly relative to 1981-2010 is 0.59 C in both years. 0.59 C above relative to 1981, so keep that in mind. That's very recent. Extremely recent. Which corresponds to a 1.22 C relative to late 19th century, 1880. So if we go back to 1880 baseline, which a lot of people would prefer to use that baseline, we are 1.22 C, which is above the kind of I don't know what you'd call it, the collective establishment, the establishment, or all the official sources will tell you we're like 0.9 or 1 or 1.1 C above baseline, but this actually stating we are 1.22 above baseline. And obviously, many people think that we're much higher than that already, that we're already past 1.5 and somewhere in between 1.5 or 2. And some people might even tell you that we're at 2 or above 2. Consider the CO2 equivalent in the air, not just the CO2 parts per million, but the CO2 equivalent of CO2, methane, nitrous oxide. And that is more like in the 560 range or something like that. Anyways, let's go on. The reason 2020 didn't end up beating 2016 is down to a rather normal December compared to the record warm November. We had a record warm November. But also remember, it is also a La Nina year. So 2016 El Nino year, 2020 La Nina. And again, that does not bode well for the next El Nino oscillation. December turned out to be the only month this year with a considerable cold anomaly over Eurasia, a feature which tends to dampen global temperature in most circumstances. On top of that, we are in a moderate La Nina state, which acts to cool as well. Going on with another year above the 1.2 C threshold, what is the human-induced warming to date? Let's turn to our own global warming index, which suggests 1.17 C, attributable to human-induced warming relative to 1850, 1900. So, pretty close to the 1.22, a difference of 5, adding the latest, or a difference of 0.05, excuse me. Let me get that right. Adding to the latest Met Office global temperature update, we have likely reached 1.2 C man-made warming already, considering the latest trend of human-induced warming we will have reached. And here's the interesting statement. We will have reached 1.5 C in 2034, which is not very far away. Not very far away, but remember that the World Meteorological Organization said that it is quite likely that we will touch 1.5 in the next 4 years. So possibly that they are admitting that we're higher already, or admitting that we can go up more quickly, or just admitting that it's all bad. As always, crossing the 1.5 C threshold doesn't imply impending doom. It's just one step closer to 2 C, which isn't the end of the world either. Excuse me. Every 1/10 of a degree, which we are unable to avoid, increases global inequalities and the risk for severe ecological disruption. Thanks to Fridays for Future and all activists around the globe, climate change has eventually received the attention it needs. Not sure we will act quickly enough, though. The pandemic has shown the good and the bad in humans' ability to respond to a grave danger. We have developed a vaccine in under a year. Again, well, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, which is mind-blowing. Sure. We have acted once people started to suffer from COVID, yet most countries always reacted as emergency relief, not before SHTF. Despite all the warnings and advice from scientists. This is concerning when it comes to climate change, for there is no vaccine to reverse it, and there is no climate lockdown to stop the change once shit hits the fan too frequently. Oops, sorry. Let me go back here. So let's hope we learn and do better. Let's continue to fight for a climate-safe world. All right. So kind of a few questionable tweets there at the end. It's all bad. It's all bad. It's all bad. Oh, but we've got plenty of time. Or we're a few fringe groups that people really don't want to take notice of have at least made some people aware that there's a problem. And to be fair, forced a lot of governments to admit that there's a problem. Again, admitting a problem is just nice words. It's not necessarily action. And going one step farther, it's not the right kind of action, right? So the nice words are great. The promise to do good, take actions is great. Are they the right actions? We haven't even really gotten to that debate on a public stage yet because people are just like, what? There's a climate emergency? Huh? And what does climate safe world even mean? P.S. This is a great way to show where 2020 has been warmest. Many areas in Northern Hemisphere had a top 5 year this year. Plot of the day in the dark red areas. 2020 was the warmest year since at least 1979. Russia and Scandinavia stand out, but also the Indian and West Pacific Oceans, with little variability relative to the trend. Locally, also France, Belgium, and the southern Netherlands. Hot, hot, hot. And that, my friends, is the end of that thread. But there we are. Or here we are. Or there you go. Or here we go. Whatever way you want to look at it. Concerning nonetheless. I guess the other interesting thing that he said in this thread was something about climate lockdowns. Climate lockdown. And lockdown being kind of arbitrary depending on what country you live in, right? So like a lockdown in China is much different from a lockdown in the United States. Please stop calling me. Lockdown in China is much different from a lockdown in the United States, as in the United States, it's kind of enforced or kind of taken seriously. Some people are just like, whatever. I can tell you right now, we've had a recent restatement of, stay-at-home orders or lockdown orders. And I can tell you that a lot of people just don't give two shits. And probably why we're still having a surge in California or Southern California of coronavirus. But a lot of people are like, lockdown, F that. People are just over it. And so, but the thing is I think that, again, with the initial lockdown, even in the U.S., if you give people the message that this is serious, let's take this seriously, let's do all we can to contain this. I think, and you also try to give people help in order to take it seriously and contain this and do the right thing and all that kind of stuff, right? If the messaging is clear, concise, and consistent, right? People will go like, oh yeah, this is a serious problem. Let's take this seriously, right? We have nothing even close to that with climate change. Not even in the same city of the same ballpark. We're way out in the woods as far as climate change messaging, consistent climate change messaging, and clear and concise climate change messaging, and even truthful climate change message. Even this guy, Karsten Hostein, gives us some really good hard, solid, factual info right in the beginning, but then goes off the rails in the last couple of tweets with the like, yes, but people are becoming more aware, and we're gonna skirt. 1.5 isn't bad at all. 2.5 is not. It's not the end of the world. We're fine. 1.5 in 15 years, and then how long will it take us to get to 2? 2050? Again, we're accelerating. Climate change has reached a state of acceleration. We are accelerating exponentially. It is not going to stay in this like slow kind of linear growth thing. It's not doing that. It's doing this. Climate change is doing this. So the later it gets, the more it goes like this. So in 5 or 10 years, we're going to be like this, not like over here. And that's what he's not telling you. And so he's giving you some facts, but not giving you other facts. And that is a serious problem when climate scientists or climate communicators or whatever are trying to tell people about the problem. Karsten Hallstein is a climate scientist and a meteorologist and a storm chaser. He also says he's a human, which means he's fallible. And also, bullshitting people on some level. I don't know why. Because he's human. Because he's like, well, let's be optimistic and positive. That's, humans operate a lot on that level. Of, optimism, positivity, hopefulness, So we won't fault him for that. However, the misinformation I have a problem with. Let's see. Anyways, climate change continues to pace. That's pretty much the upshot of that. So, also interesting from the HuffPost this morning. This year was a disaster for the planet. From record-breaking wildfires to devastating hurricanes, human-driven climate change keeps killing us. Let's see what they have to say. The climate is changing. Its effects are deadly, and it's getting worse every year. Even as global carbon emissions were expected to decrease by about 7% this year due to coronavirus restrictions on normal activities, this has only briefly slowed, but far from eliminated, the historic and ever-increasing burden of human activity on the Earth's climate. And this would be the reason for some clear messaging around climate change, right? So we actually were given a blueprint this year with how to reduce them. We have reduced emissions more than the planet has ever reduced emissions in the last 80 years, right? In 1 year, we reduced emissions more than that this year. Why? Because we all willingly or unwillingly followed or lockdown orders, or were given lockdown orders, or were locked down against our will, whatever, depending on where you live and how your country reacted to coronavirus. We were given a blueprint on how to cut emissions immediately, like in the short term, right? So maybe we could, if there was a climate emergency, and all the mainstream media channels of the world were like, it's a climate emergency. Oh my God, people are going to die by the billions. I mean, the mortality rate of climate change, you think the mortality rate of coronavirus is, small or fair to middling, or, but it's still enough for people to lock down an entire planet, coronavirus. We're going to lock down an entire planet, but the mortality rate for climate change is going to be something like, off the scale, like nobody's ever seen before. Off the scales and off the rails. Billions of people are going to die. If we could have some messaging like that, and this is what we need to do in the face of billions of people possibly dying in the next 20 years or 30 years or whatever it's going to be, or 5 years or 10 years. We got to lock our shit down for the next 5 years while we figure out how we're going to live in balance with nature. That's what we're going to do. If you gave people clear messaging, you think they go, oh shit, okay, fine, Let's do it. Okay. But we're not doing that. That's not what we're doing. We're lying to people. We're not telling people how bad it is. We're doing everything but that. Anyways, this year has been a record-breaking heat wildfire scene. Record-breaking heat, wildfires, and storms. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres urged every country to declare a climate emergency. But are you going to urge every TV station in every city, in every country across the globe to declare a climate emergency every single morning? Every single morning should be an emergency signal. Boop, boop, boop. Come on, they should come on the air and go, yet another day, we have a climate emergency. We're about to lose the entire planet. Billions of people are going to die if we don't do something. That should start the newscast, the broadcast of every single day. If they were telling people the truth. If they were really declaring a climate emergency, that's how that would be handled. But no, they're not going to do that. Anyways. I mean, we saw what happened, record-breaking fires, United States, Australia, etc. 116 degrees, Woodland Hills, California. Yeah, it was hotter than that, actually. Southern California on a day or two this year. Summer, which is way off the rails. Actually, LA County hit its highest temperature ever of 121 degrees. That's not Death Valley, that's LA County. We had deadly storms. We, had more storms than ever. We set records for number of storms and cyclones and tropical cyclones. We lost sea ice. The Arctic sea ice cover shrank to its second lowest level since records started being kept in the late 1970s, according to NASA. But they're just saying ice cover, meaning they're just talking about extent. What they didn't mention in that is, what they didn't mention in this is that the thickness of the ice is down to almost nothing. So we're going to get down to a point where all of the ice in the Arctic is just thin ice that reforms every winter and melts every summer. That's what they're not telling you in this. And so, yeah, so there you go. There was no need to go into detail there because we've been covering this every single day on this channel, every single day. So I think everybody here is hip to the game. Realize says, in 5 years, we will be begging for a year like 2020. Most likely. Most likely. Well, and then here's a big downside to coronavirus. We definitely did up planet destruction this year in our response to coronavirus. Everybody's staying home, everybody ordering everything off Amazon and shipping and packaging, and yes, we got out of our cars and stayed home and did Zoom work or Zoom meetings. But look at this, more than 1.5 billion masks believed to have entered oceans in 2020. Unbelievable, or maybe totally believable, because humans. This is from December 24th. For months, we've seen face masks in places they shouldn't be: storm drains, streets, beaches, and parks. Now we're learning just how many could be flooding our oceans. Once plastic enters the marine environment, it's very difficult to move, said Dr. Teal Phelps Bondaroff, Director of Research for Oceans Asia. Excuse me. The Marine Conservation Group has been tracking the number of face masks washing up on a remote island south of Hong Kong since the pandemic started. About 6 weeks after COVID hit Hong Kong so late February, we began finding masks, and lots of masks, said Bondaroff. What's remarkable is we weren't finding face masks before COVID. Sure. I mean, just because humans are just disgusting, polluting animals. Congress recently passed, in the U.S., Congress recently passed the bill to federally legalize marijuana. And we should stop incarcerating people for minor drug offenses. But what we should do is start incarcerating people for pollution. We should start with CEOs of companies, fossil fuel executives, and on down. We should make a serious offense for pollution, right? Throwing stuff out your car window, dumping garbage. I mean, we have some high fines for polluting, but it should be like not just, $1,000 or whatever. It should just be like straight jail time. Like, it should be like as bad as drunk driving in some countries, right? Lose your license, go to jail for 5 years. Like, that's the degree at which we should prosecute polluters. But again, we got to start with the big time polluters, which are the wealthy, the business owners, the wealthy, the yacht drivers, the airplane owners, the factory owners, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Start with them first, and then we'll work our way on down. The Marine Conservation Group has been tracking the number of face masks washing up on a remote island. I read that. Masks are made with polypropylene, which Bondaroff describes as a thin fibers of plastic, which we just don't have enough of in our environment. We need more. So let's everybody get face masks and then throw them on the ground. Thanks. These tiny pieces of plastic can remain in the oceans for hundreds of years, threatening fish and even polluting the air. Question that we couldn't answer was how many are entering our oceans. We just didn't know. Ocean Asia launched a study to find the answer and recently shared its findings. Of the estimated 52 billion masks manufactured globally in 2020, it's believed 1.56 billion will enter our oceans this year, resulting in an additional 4,680 to 6,240 metric tons of marine plastic pollution. Great. Go humans. Humans just humaning. Oh, so if you remember the story on the mass bird deaths that were happening in New Mexico and other parts of the Southwest, there has been a study, there has been some findings. And the findings are that the mass die-off of birds in southwestern U.S. caused by starvation. Necropsy reveals 80% of the thousands of songbirds that died suddenly showed typical signs of emaciation. And the mass die-off of thousands of songbirds was caused by long-term starvation, made worse by unseasonably cold weather, probably linked to the climate crisis. Right, so there was like a weather snap right around this time, if you all remember. And I think we went from very hot to very cold very quickly, right at the end of the summer. And most likely caught a lot of migrating birds off guard or unawares that they were going to be. And on top of that, they were starving. They were emaciated. I wonder why. Do you think it might be because all the insects are disappearing? Possibly. Flycatchers, swallows, and warblers were among the migratory birds falling out of the sky in September, with carcasses found in New Mexico, Colorado, Texas, Arizona, and Nebraska. The USGS National Wildlife Health Center necropsy has found 80% of specimens showed typical signs of starvation. Muscles controlling the bird's wings were severely shrunken. Blood was found in their intestinal tract, and they had kidney failure as well as an overall loss of body fat. This is just horrifying. The remaining 20% were not in good enough condition to carry out proper tests. Holy shnikes. Nearly 10,000 dead birds were reported to the Wildlife Mortality Database by citizens, and previous estimates suggest hundreds of thousands may have died. Yeah, that is super alarming, because that is kind of in line with what has been going on with climate change. I mean, they were emaciated. We don't know why. It could have been because of climate change. Well, why were they emaciated? Did you all make some suggestions, or did you go down the road? Did you think with your mind down the road a little ways, like, what? Well, why could they be emaciated? Golly gee, I wonder why. Could it be because we're losing insects at an incredible rate, and that is because of climate change? So that basically, if you go down that road and you assume, maybe, you could assume wrongly, but maybe you could just go down that road and say, possibly it's because they don't have food, and the reason why they don't have food is because of climate change. Well, then that makes it like almost, that makes it a very high percentage of likelihood that it was mostly climate change that killed all these birds, right? Not just a weird weather snap. Whoa. If it was lack of insects due to climate change, then that would make it 100% because of climate change. Anyways. Yeah. What's up, guys? We've got a lot of people watching. Let's like up the video. Got 37 likes. Let's do a lot more likes than 37. Got people watching on Rockfin. What's up, Rockfinners? We got Urban Hermit, Kevin Shanholzer, Poppy Davis, Osama number 5, Doomfin for the win. What's up, guys? Thank you for hanging out with me on Rockfin, ROKFIN.com. Kevin Shanholzer said, when did the carbon emissions reduction change from 17% to 7%? Oh, well, I think the 7% is like the average for the year. They just averaged it out. And I think the 17% was for the months that, we were in, like the whole planet was in kind of like a larger lockdown mode. I think that's where they got the 17%. But I think 7% is like averaged out the whole year. I could be wrong on that. I don't know. Andy the Gardener says, don't blame it on global warming, proximate cause. Okay. Let's move on. Oh, on top of all that really great news, the last surviving golden eagle in Wales was shot. And that's really all you need to know. Shot dead. Oh, look at, there goes an eagle. Pow, pow, pow. Oops, it was the last gold. Oops, it was the last one. Last golden eagle. Oh, darn. Oh, I just wanted to actually just show you guys a couple of things that I found in regards. I was talking yesterday, we were talking about geoengineering. And I just wanted to bring forth a few interesting things that I found. This is from David Keith's paper that he wrote around geoengineering. I'm just going to read something for you because it's interesting. As I said, geoengineering has been around for a long time, the idea of it, the concept of it, and the thoughts around it. modern intellectual histories of climate change and treatments of climate and weather modification that date from the 1970s. There is little modern analysis that explores the links between weather and climate modification and current concerns about climate change. Maybe. As we will see, weather and climate modification, or weather control, was a centerpiece of research in the atmospheric sciences during the 1950s and 1960s. That is a long time ago. A long time ago. It was a centerpiece of research. So I'm telling you what David Keith, leading Harvard professor, researching SRM, is telling you. It was a centerpiece 70 years ago. So again, it's been something that people have been studying for a really long time. The idea that they're just now like, whoa, okay, let's see how this balloon test goes, again, seems awfully silly to me. Awfully silly. And let's go further. One more interesting thing. In that context, what we now call climate impacts was then inadvertent climate modification, right? So we've been modifying the climate for a long time. What is now called geoengineering bears a strong similarity to what was then called weather and climate modification. So, people like to make the distinction between making it rain and geoengineering to, allay effects of climate change. He is stating, so what was then called weather and climate modification is now called geoengineering. So that's what they meant by controlling the weather and controlling the climate. They meant geoengineering. And that's mainly what it was. A few other interesting items that I found. Patents. These are actual patents that have been applied for and granted. Process for controlling the weather. Patent application 1948. Application granted 1951. So very old ideas. So controlling the weather, not a new thing. Not like, oh my God, what's this crazy new technology that we're implementing? Whoa, that's how they make it sound. Even the Chinese weather modification article that I read the other day was like, they made it sound like, whoa, what's this new thing that we're, crazy, this new technology that they're busting out. No, it's not new. It's super old. It's been around for a really long time, and they never stopped studying it. If you think that they stopped experimenting or stopped studying it because we just gave that up. That's just not how it works, people. It's not how technology works. That's not how militaries work. DARPA works. That's not how it works. They don't just stop doing it because, went down this road and there wasn't much there, so we just stopped doing it. Yeah, weather modification method. This is like application 1966, application granted 1971. I'm going to read this abstract. Weather modification method. The present invention provides a method for producing rain or snow from natural. So this is, creating snow or rain. Natural atmospheric clouds using seeding agents. Bobbity blue, blue, blue. Materials suitable in practicing this invention are urea, potassium nitrate, and ammonium nitrate. Oh, nitrite, excuse me. Potassium nitrate, and ammonium nitrate. So, okay. So again, this is technology stuff that's been around for a very long time. And lastly, this is crazy. Patent application 1980. Application granted 1983. Atmosphere modification satellite. Dig this one. This is interesting. The atmosphere modification satellite is intended to be the beginning of a possible worldwide network of satellites designed to improve Earth through application of techniques and monitoring resulting in atmosphere modification. Energy sources of said satellite consist of solar electrical energy particle beams, laser magnetohydrodynamics. At proper planes of orbit, the satellite is capable of identifying target areas and administering M probes to monitor, sample, and or modify the atmosphere. There is no limit to the number of types of atmosphere modification the satellite will perform. Okay. Again, so apparently this application, or the application was granted, apparently it expired in 2000. But the thing is this was applied for 40 years ago. And the idea that this isn't still either being investigated or worked with or worked on or manipulated or actually already in use on some level, or they have plans for using it soon, whatever. This is 40-year-old technology. And the idea that they just kind of left this, gave this up or whatever, especially with the knowledge that climate change is such a threat, right? All militaries of the planet understand completely, and the U.S. military is, probably in the forefront of understanding completely the threat of climate change to the planet and security or whatever, right? The idea that they're not thinking about this or experimenting with it or investigating it or doing tests, the idea that they're not doing anything is absolutely harebrained. That is a tinfoil hat right there. If you think that's not going on, you are straight up full on tinfoil hat. Oh no, they didn't think it was a good idea. They thought it might have some negative, kind of reactions, some downsides, so they just gave up on it. Okay, right. Anyways. And lastly, this is from the USGS. This is a government website. Airplane contrails are actually human-made clouds. They are actually human-made clouds. I'm going to read it slowly so you guys can understand that. This is coming from a government website. They are clouds. They may not understand how these clouds work, but again, we've been flying for a long time. We've been making human-made clouds from airplanes for a long time. So if you think that they're not studying the effects of this, or they don't understand, even on a small level, the effects of this, again, ha ha ha, you are the wearer of the tinfoil hat. Oh no, there's no evidence that they're doing that. Okay. Put on your tinfoil hat and go sit in the corner, because that's a tinfoil dunce hat. Anyways, let's read this. Detailed description. Contrails made by high-flying airplanes over Lake Jackson. Oh, this is these are just the description of the thing. You've seen the cloud-like trails that high-flying airplanes leave behind, and you probably know they are called contrails. Maybe you didn't know they were called that because they are actually condensation trails, and in fact are not much different than natural clouds. If the exhaust from the airplane contains water vapor, and if the air is very cold, which is at high altitudes, then the water vapor in the exhaust will condense out into what is essentially a cirrus cloud. As this picture shows, contrails start out as thin ribbons, but with upper atmosphere winds, they can dissipate and essentially form much larger sets of cirrus clouds. They understand this. They know this. And if they know this and understand this, and you don't think that they're somehow trying to experiment with manipulating this, again, put on your tinfoil hat and go sit in the corner. That's all I have to say about that. Furthermore, from Wired, weaponizing the climate, geoengineering's military potential. Oh, it has military potential? Oh, so do you think they're not really experimenting with this? If it has military potential, do you think they're just like, nah, we were doing that before, but we're over it? Hacking the climate to save ourselves from global warming's worst consequences is a real possibility that we've explored several times here at Wired and elsewhere, but a new article on foreign policy by Futurist Jaime Cascio takes a deep look at the geopolitical dilemmas presented by our prospective ability to intentionally alter the climate. He argues that the subtle, long-term aspects of geoengineering can make it appealing to states looking for alternative, unexpected ways of boosting their strategic power relative to competitors. I rest my case. Defense rests. Anyways, if you think that the militaries of the world, especially the United States, are not have not explored every single little nook and cranny of this and are still not doing it, again, go sit in the corner. Because he just told you the reason why they would do that, and if there's a reason for them to do that, then they're doing it. Okay, lastly, just finishing up with more interesting 2020 news. Super gonorrhea is spreading like wildfire thanks to COVID-19. Why? Why is it spreading like wildfire? Overuse of antibiotics during the coronavirus pandemic has resulted in the more rapid spread of a type of antibiotic-resistant gonorrhea. Woohoo! Good times. This so-called super gonorrhea does not respond to the normal first-line treatments, making it particularly dangerous and uncomfortable for those afflicted. I'm uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable just reading this. Doctors and medical experts have long warned of the possibility that superbugs that are antibiotic resistant could be more commonplace. Well, they are. They're super commonplace, actually. And this is one example of such a thing happening. So there you go. I'm not going to read any more of that. Guys, just look out for super gonorrhea. Careful out there. You don't want to catch yourself a case of super gonorrhea. Lastly, the force the vote thing is in full swing, and they're going to have a town hall this week. I believe it's tomorrow. Anyways, yes, it's tomorrow, Wednesday, December 30th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 5:30 p.m. Pacific Time. I'm going to play you this video telling you about the Force the Vote town hall. I encourage and urge you all to join. Please join this. It's going to be pretty cool if you're interested in the Force the Vote thing that's happening. Hold on. Let me make sure that y'all can see this. I think you can. Okie dokie. Let's play it. Oh, let's make sure that y'all can hear it. Can y'all hear it? Can y'all hear it? I think so. I think so. All right, here we go.
Hey, everybody, I want to let you know we're having a town hall this Wednesday, December 30th, this Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific for hashtag Force the Vote. It's a hashtag Force the Vote town hall happening right here on this channel this Wednesday, December 30th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. And we're going to have people like Cornel West, Kyle Kalinske, Crystal Ball, Brianna Joy Gray. I'll be there. Plus, we're going to feature videos of you telling us why you're for hashtag Force the Vote. And all you do is record your own video that says why you're for hashtag Force the Vote, a short 1, 2, 3 minute video, and then post it to your social media with the hashtag Force the Vote, hashtag my story. Record a 1 to 2 or 3 minute video telling us why you're for hashtag Force the Vote, and then post it to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you put it with hashtag Force the Vote, hashtag my story. And then we're going to put together and we're going to feature those videos on our live town hall for hashtag Force the Vote this Wednesday night, December 30th. You can watch it right here on this channel. It's going to be with Cornel West, Nick Brana, Jimmy Dore, Ryan Knight, Crystal Ball, Kyle Kalinske, Katie Helper, Brianna Joy Gray. Lots of people are going to be there. So that's this Wednesday. And please make sure you let us know why you're for hashtag Force the Vote. Record your own video, put it up on social media, hashtag Force the Vote, hashtag my story. We'll see you this Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific for a hashtag Force the Vote town hall.
All right. Putting it succinctly, everybody, if you're interested in
A great friend of this show, Senator Nina Turner, is running for Ohio's 11th
Didn't want that. If you're interested in supporting that movement or this particular campaign, Force the Vote, you can also go on my Twitter page. It's pinned to the top of the page. If you want to sign the petition, just go click the link. It'll take you to the petition to sign the petition, and you'll be all good. Anyways, that's it, guys. That's the end of my time. I appreciate your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. Y'all are great. Thank you for hanging out with me on Rockfin. All my Rockfin friends, thank you, thank you, thank you. I will see you tomorrow at the regular time of 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Until next time, peace.